Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Smith. Senator Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Cianfrocco, what percentage of Optum's rebates go back to United Healthcare?
Similarly, we pass along the majority of those rebates, 98%, go to all clients of the...
My question is to United Healthcare. What percentage of all these rebates go back to your parent company, United Healthcare?
Yeah, just like the other 5,000, we pass along the 98%. So United Healthcare is one of 5,000. We pass along 98% of the discounts to the client.
So of all the we were talking, so Dr. Krutzner, maybe you can answer the question better. What percentage of your rebates are kicked back to Cigna?
Senator, so we pass back over 95% of rebates to our clients. I don't know the exact number that's passed to Cigna Healthcare.
Okay.
If that's the question.
I think that's exactly what I said. Mr. Joyner, any idea what type percentage your kickbacks go back to Aetna?
Yeah, we don't pass kickbacks back to our company. We do actually pass through 98+% of our rebates to our customers, retaining a little bit more than 1%.
But you won't tell me how much is going to Aetna.
At this point, it goes back to our parent company, CVS Health. It doesn't go to Aetna.
Okay. All right. Mr. Chairman, certainly I think we agree. Most everybody up here agrees America's spending too much on prescription drugs. America's spending $600 billion a year on prescription drugs. That's almost what we're spending on the military. And I don't have to tell anybody here, but I want to make sure we understand that Americans spend per capita almost twice of what comparable nations spend. Almost twice what comparable nations spend. Show my next one. I think it's important to separate brand name versus generics, that brand names represent only 8% of prescription drugs dispensed, but 80% of the cost. So 8% of the drugs accounting for 80% of the dollars. Generics account for 92% of prescription drugs dispensed, but only 14% of the cost. So eventually we need to have a conversation about what games are going on with those two types of drugs. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the history of insulin. When I think about insulin today compared to what it was 100 years ago, I think of comparing the single-prop airplane that Amelia Earhart flew across the Atlantic to today's F-35. And I think it's important, again, that we make sure that Americans realize the innovation that's occurred in the industry. Certainly, insulin discovered in 1921, was launched in 1923. Slow-acting insulins were added in the 30s and 40s. We took insulin and added protamine and zinc and made them last longer. Insulin was the first protein to be synthesized in 1963, so figured out the amino acid chain. There's some innovations going on with the gadgets, the insulin pumps, but I want to point out that synthetic insulin was not produced until 1978, that it took the industry 15 years to tease E. coli into making insulin. It was not a simple task, but then it took your industry, some of the players here, another 4 years to bring it to market in 1982, and have to highlight that FDA approved this in only 5 months' time. We go on through the history of this. There's more advancement in technology pumps, and eventually we're able to manipulate the amino acid sequence, and we come up with even new and better insulins, able to more match what we're doing with our own pancreas. So it's been quite a development, and we think we should share the value of what has happened. If you think back to 1921, insulin-dependent diabetes, and that's what I'm talking about today, type 1 insulin-dependent diabetes was a death sentence, life expectancy 1 or 2 years. But once we started squeezing insulin out of the pancreas of animals, people maybe lived 5 or 10 years, but they still were 25 years below the life expectancy of other people in this general population. We continued to 1950, and their 15 years, mortality rate is 15 years below the general population. In 1978, it's 12 years below the general population, and then today we're sitting at about 7 years below the general population. It's not perfect, but because of these improvements, we've gained a lot of progress. And I just want to stop, Mr. Hudson, what does the future look like for you, just very briefly, as far as innovation opportunities?
Well, I think, and thank you for sharing the journey. I think it's important to realize the contribution that the continued improvement and innovation in insulin has made. The next barrier is really to help patients protect the insulin making function that they have, treat them earlier. You know, we launched Tzilda a few months ago, which is to try and stop the progression of the disease, try and halt the disease, try and give young adults a chance to live insulin-free for a number of years and maybe indefinitely if the trials support that. We don't know, but a life free from needing insulin, a life free from medicines in general is the ultimate goal. I think we'd all agree with that, a normal life.
Well, thanks. I guess I just want to be careful today. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We certainly think that the prescription drugs are too expensive, but we don't want to get rid of the innovation if at all possible. I want to turn back to the PBMs for a second. Again, $600 billion prescription spend in this country. PBM's gross revenue last year was $500 billion. 84 cents on the dollar goes to the middleman. I think I want America to see what's happened in this industry. I think that this picture paints 1,000 words, that we see the vertical integration that's occurring within this industry. Mr. Hudson, the dollar being spent on prescription drugs, what amount of that money is going to go to the middleman? You've testified earlier. I just want to get this on record again.
So it's 84 cents of all insulin on the dollar goes to the system or the middleman. On Lanta specifically, it's 93% across all channels. Okay. 93%.
Mr. Ricks, would you somewhere in that same range?
Similar insulin, it's 80 cents on the dollar for us. For our whole portfolio, which includes newer medicines, it's about 2/3 of all gross pricing goes to the PBMs and insurance companies.
Okay. I think it's been pointed out earlier that these are top 500 companies. CVS is number 4, United Health number 5, Cigna is number 12. Turn to my executives from the PBMs. You all are recently forming some GPOs. Dr. Kushner, where is the location of your GPO? What country?
Senator, it's located in Switzerland.
And Ms. Cianfrocco, where's yours?
It is domestic. It's a Delaware company.
Okay. And Mr. Joyner, where's yours?
It's here in the States as well. It's a Delaware company.
Okay. What is the purpose of the GPOs? Ms. Cianfrocco, what's the purpose of the GPO? And I hope you don't tell me it's to increase purchasing power.
Well, it is a group purchasing organization, so it's designed to allow other companies that negotiate with pharmaceutical manufacturers to increase the counterweight against those high list prices and negotiate additional savings to lower the cost of drugs.
Okay. It feels like it's a shell game to me. That's what it feels like to me, is that we're hiding money here and there. Mr. Joyner, why don't you put some of these lesser expensive insulins on your list of drugs that you can sell, your formulary?
I think, as I mentioned earlier, we have. So in the Lantus example, which is a very high-priced insulin, when a biosimilar was
So you're
introduced,
telling me that the pharmaceutical managers the pharmaceutical makers don't get the story right. They all three said that there's certainly drugs that they have for sale that you won't put on your formulary.
If it's not on the formulary, it's because it's not the lowest net cost in the therapeutic class.
Dr. Kirshner, why won't you put some of these on your formulary?